Hello guys, this is your friend Shinobi Nexus 2.0 and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is What If Naruto Quits the Bell Test Sasuke Bashing Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. The sound of heavy breathing filled the air as its maker stared at a mirror. His cerulean eyes flashed red for a moment, making him strike the dark reflection. His world had just been turned upside down. His life was placed in jeopardy as an evil man used him for his own gain. The foolish blonde was desperate to reach his dream. His need for attention so great that he did something he knew was wrong. He had broken into the home of the only man that had shown signs of caring for him. To make things worse, he had been caught in the act by said man. His way to escape had been by using his unorthodox skills to make his mentor faint. The young male blonde was clouded in smoke before being revealed as an older female. Her fleshy curves were too stimulating for the was-hardened elder. After his escape, the golden blonde went into the next phase of his makeup exam. He spent many hours learning his most hated jutsu from the largest scroll he had ever laid his hands on. As the sun prepared to raise into the sky, the sun-kissed blonde was found by his hated teacher. Few words were exchanged between the two, before the boy had been sent flying. He looked with rage at the man that had attacked him. His eyes grew as he saw the man be covered in blades. He followed the man's eyes of sight to see his second instructor. The one that had told him about the second test. The next hour the golden blonde wished had never happened. It pained him to remember every detail. The most painful part was that he learned that the demon fox had been sealed in him. His rage had grown to a new level he had never felt before. A great source of power was erupting from within, as a dark voice began to fill his mind. He had planned to follow the command of the demon calling to him, however the kind words coming from his hated instructor prevented him. His mind shattered at how the man declared him a member of the village, that he wasn't the demon fox he contained. The golden blonde showed his sudden mastery of his new skill and laid a savage beating on the man known as Mizuki. Iruka was dumbfounded as his student had beaten a chunin in battle. Two fools underestimated him tonight. I can never change the past, but from now on I will be there for you, Naruto. The man saw no reason to hold the young golden blonde back. He instantly graduated him and to celebrate took him to eat, making the hidden watcher glad and proud of what had happened. Naruto was so glad that he hadn't taken the wounds on Iruka seriously. Before they could part ways, the kind chunin fell to his knees. Instantly the golden blonde rushed to his side, hoping to help. He was suddenly pushed away by the chunin. The golden blonde at him in disbelief. Iruka had not wanted to hurt his student, but Naruto had placed his hand too hard on a wound. Iruka's eyes grew as he saw the pain in Naruto's eyes. What have I done? Iruka thought as villagers quickly rushed the boy to get him away from the loved instructor. Iruka couldn't believe how the people of his precious home openly attacked an innocent boy. Naruto rushed from the growing mob and used his new jutsu to safely reach home. His mind filling with how his idiocy had caused so much pain. He felt he didn't deserve anything and went on to trash his near-empty apartment. It's all my fault. If I hadn't trusted him, none of this would have happened. Naruto yelled in rage as he looked at his recently broken mirror. His eyes grew as he saw a certain ring. One he obtained on a trip with his mentor. He remembered that day clearly. They went to a festival and he was given a nice amount of cash to have fun. He was so excited about being in such fun-filled place that he wasn't thinking right. Though at the time he didn't know any better. He had visited a few booths and filled his stomach and his hands with goods. He had spent little money because of the fact it had been so easy to win the things he wanted. He could remember the creepy voice of the old fortune teller that had gotten his attention. He walked with curiosity at the simple stand. The old woman sat behind a table with that held a crystal ball. She clearly conned him into paying to see his future and then claimed to see that it was going to be a dark and difficult one. She wowed him into buying the ring he now stared at. It will protect you from great evil and bring you greater strength. Naruto remembered her words as the image of a younger him gave away all of his money. He took his new ancient ring of protection to his mentor. He wanted the man to be proud of him. In his mind, buying the ring was a great decision for a future Hokage. Naruto, you've been robbed, the Hokage said, clearly bringing pain to the boy. This ring is useless, the metal is rusted, the gem is cracked, and such a small thing is useless to a shinobi. Naruto, you can't keep letting people trick you. I want you to wear it as a reminder that not everyone is your friend. The Hokage said, making the young Naruto sad while his current form looked at the large old ring. Since it was too big to fit him, the Hokage had bought him a necklace to put through the ring. I didn't wear the ring because it made the Hokage disappointed. He was right, I do trust people too much, Naruto said as he took the ring off the top of the mirror. The necklace had been stolen long ago when his apartment was destroyed by angry villagers. He still couldn't believe he was to be stuck with the useless item his whole life. He let out a sigh as he saw the ring was only small enough to be worn on his thumb. I can't trust anyone, not even myself, the golden blonde said as his voice became drowsy. The last thing he remembered was the scent of fire. Hokage-sama, Naruto's apartment is on fire, a man said as he rushed into the village leader's office. The powerful man grew a look of great rage before standing to see the situation. The man couldn't believe that someone would attack the boy. His eyes grew when the high-level Anbu reported the boy was not to be found. How are you feeling? A kind voice said as a certain sun-kissed blonde opened his cerulean eyes. How can this boy be the demon fox? He looked so peaceful asleep. The young nurse thought as she looked at her temporary charge. She had drawn straws with the staff for the job. No one wanted the hatefully duty of taking care of the village's pariah. Naruto looked around and wasn't too surprised to find himself in the hospital. Are you okay? Does it hurt anywhere? The woman asked as she tried to get closer. Poor thing looked better of dead when the Anbu brought him in. How can he stand living here after what the village puts him through? The woman thought as her mind was flooded with the many times Naruto had been brought in throughout his short life. He had a medical record bigger than most retired shinobi. I'll be fine. Your generosity should be used on others that want it, Naruto said with a cold tone, making the previous caring teen to leave the room. See what I care, demon, why don't you go ahead and die? That way Konoha can finally rest in peace, the woman thought as she hurried to check on her next patient. Isn't it this kind of thinking that put him here in the first place? The nurse thought in a more rational way as she turned to look at the open door of Naruto's room. Naruto went on to removing the bandages around his body. He finally turned to undo his right arm that felt heavier than before. He let out a scream as he saw it covered with a black and silver metal. His hands had a bladed edge that gave him light claws. My arm, what happened to it? The golden blonde said as his eyes followed the metal, seeing it run all over his arm and cover the right side of his chest. He stood and rushed to a mirror. He couldn't believe how light the metal was and how there was no sign of the metal being attached to his body. More like it was just sitting on him, something he knew was impossible. The golden blonde hurried to the small closet for his things as he heard the Hokage coming to his room. He rushed to his window and ran from the hospital as fast as possible. He knew the Hokage was going to be upset. He knew from experience that the man would question him about the attack. The problem was that he had no idea about what had happened. That was only going to make it worse, meaning the man was going to be more upset than usual. A thing he did not wish to experience. He went home only to find it burned to the ground, along with a large chunk of the complex. His eyes grew in disbelief as he looked at the charred room. All his memories and valuables gone. He now had nothing to his name but the old and worthless ring. Naruto planned to glare at his cursed object. He looked to his right arm, flinching at the sight of the inhuman metal. Shock filled his face once more as he saw the ring smaller now and on his pinky finger. The brand new looking ring glowed out a light. The golden blonde opened and closed his arm. He had heard and seen shinobi lose a limb and have a fake one placed. What he had not heard was a fake arm react as fast as the one he had on. Also, he didn't feel like those that had lost a part of themselves. He wasn't feeling down or weak. In fact, something inside him said he was stronger than before. Naruto looked at the gem with curiosity. It looked so different to his eyes, he was surprised to find a symbol he had never seen deep in the gem. Naruto, you are alive, a voice said, making the golden blonde turn. You make it sound like you care. Naruto's words makes his former classmate glare at him as she stood with her parents. That was a bit rude. The platinum blonde man said, making Naruto glare at him. He soon calmed down using a shinobi breathing exercise, shocking those that knew his reputation. I don't got time for this, Naruto said while wrapping up his right arm with bandages. Good luck had finally reached, since the family had not seen the newly armored arm. You can say that again, you look terrible in a hospital gown, Ino said, making her parents glare at her. They had yet to tell her daughter what happened to her classmates, since they didn't know her view on her fellow blonde. Not to be rude, but I have never cared about the crap that comes out of your mouth, Naruto said before tying the gown together and walking from the family. Naruto, do you have a place to stay at? Ino's mother asked, making Naruto pause. She had asked in a kind and sincere way, something he had never experienced before from strangers. I'm going back to the hospital, Naruto said before walking into the rubble of what played the part of his home. Using his exposed arm, Naruto removed the debris until lifting a final board to expose a small metal box. What's that? Ino asked with curiosity. She had never known much of Naruto and wondered what he treasured. It's my life, Naruto said before walking past the still curious blonde. Can I see? Ino asked with a cutesy voice, making Naruto glare at her. No. His cold response made her glare at his back as he walked away. No one ever denied her anything, she promised to get the stupid blonde back. Plus asterisk, asterisk plus. I can't believe I lost everything, the blonde thought as he walked through the business district. He finally came to a stop. He looked into a tailor shop he had never seen before. He walked in with hesitation. He never liked spending time with the greedy merchants. The doorbell sounded as he went into the building, easily catching the attention of the owner. She normally would throw him out, however, seeing him in such a poor state changed her mind. Not to mention hearing how he was left to burn made her see him in a new light. So what do you need? The woman asked, making Naruto turn to her. Some clothes would be nice, Naruto said as he saw the woman walk around the counter. What exactly are you looking for? The woman said, catching Naruto off guard. What do you mean? Naruto said, making the woman study him. Is there a certain look or color you like? I do have some orange, the woman said with some disgust. Just something that will keep others a safe distance from me. Oh, and I need this to be well covered, Naruto said, pointing at his right limb. Is it really that bad? The woman said, making Naruto look at the limb and then at her. I'm not ready to let anyone see it yet, Naruto said, making the woman nod her head. She had seen many of her friends become distant after an accident. Let me measure you and I'll see what I can do, the woman said before getting a nod almost a minute later. Looks like he has trust problems, not like I can blame him, the woman thought while she did the measuring. Naruto went into a changing room after she gathered a few things. Naruto couldn't say his new look sucked, though it was a simple black Anbu-style pants and sandals, light chain mail hidden under bandages, that covered his torso and arms. A large black trench coat that was clearly too big. You don't have to worry about this getting dirty because of a few special seals. However, the woman paused her speech before cutting the sleeve of the left arm to expose his hand. I saw you can still use it, but don't overdo it, the woman said, making the golden blonde pay his stuff. He's not a bad kid. I wonder what other rumors has the village made from Bull, the woman thought as she got to work on making a new look for an older Naruto. He was surprised at how cheap the things he bought was. Concerning the number of extra rolls of tape and change of pants he got. Uzumaki. The Hokage wishes to have a word with you. An Anbu said as the blonde walked towards a motel. Backquote. The Hokage had been going over the information his shinobi had obtained on the situation that had befallen Naruto. The man was clearly surprised to see his grandson-like figure in such dark clothes when the formerly carefree blonde came in. Naruto, we need to talk about the other day. The Hokage said, making the blonde uncomfortable. I don't know what happened or how I got to the hospital. Naruto said, making the village leader shake his head. I didn't expect you to. The woman that had drugged you was Mizuki's lover. The fire shadow said, making Naruto look at him with disbelief. She felt that his love would forever be hers if she finished what he started. She has agreed to pay the fine for destroying your home along with the original amount Mizuki had to pay. The combined amounts will be more than enough to get you a new place. The Hokage said as he handed a check to Naruto. The blonde looked at the amount of money in his hands with awe. Such an amount was something he could only dream of. That is not the only reason for me to have summoned you. The incident involving the Forbidden Scroll is why you are here. The Hokage said, making Naruto even more uncomfortable, something the war-hardened veteran easily caught on. Normally you would have to pay a fine and have your chakra sealed just for coming into contact with the legacy of the Hokages. The kind man turned into a powerful figure before Naruto's eyes. His power, confidence and cold heart made the golden blonde gulp. However, we can't charge you of the crime since you weren't officially a genin. The Hokage said, making Naruto's eyes to grow. To not make the village look foolish, I am going to award you a B rank mission completion. You will also obtain B rank pay, but that money will be saved in case your home is destroyed again. The man said, making Naruto nod his head. Mission details are considered important secrets to the village at this rank. I believe you know the consequences about breaking such secrets. The Hokage said, making Naruto to nod his head. The man smiled and became the man that Naruto had seen walking the village before. I expect to see your ninja registration completed soon. I don't want you to get in the habit of turning paperwork late. The Hokage said, making the golden blonde nod his head one more time before leaving. Old man, Naruto said with a bit of discomfort. This was the first time he stood before the Hokage while not in trouble. The man looked up from his endless supply of paperwork. What will happen to Mizuki-sensei and his girl? Naruto said, making the village leader sigh. Mizuki has clearly defied us, he will be handled by a special team. His fiancée was desperate and in pain, she will get the proper medical help. Don't worry, they won't be coming near you anytime soon. The Hokage said with a reassuring smile. Thanks. Naruto said before closing the door and finally leaving. That boy, perhaps I must become more involved with his life. Other than what I have heard, I know nothing of him. What would you do? Sarutobi said to himself as he took a puff from his pipe. He let out a cough when his mind made the Yondaime flick him off. Maybe this medicinal weed is too much for me. The Hokage said as he decided to stick to painkillers for help. Plus asterisk, asterisk plus. Naruto still couldn't believe the amount of money he carried. He began to feel uncomfortable with it. Making up his mind, he decided it was time to man up. It was time for him to go to one of the places he had learned to fear. A place of such evil that villagers ignored him when it was brought up. Welcome to the Bank of Konoha. A worker said as he opened the door for Naruto. The new shinobi didn't like the large amount of people waiting in line. Or the look of death on their face, as if their souls had been completely drained. Single quote. This. The golden blonde thought as he turned around and walked as fast as he could, making sure to get out of the greedy place. He finally learned why people feared banks. It was the creepy smile they gave you when they took your hard-earned money. Uzumaki Naruto had started to get annoyed. He had spent 2 hours trying to find a bank he could trust. He was preparing to give up until hearing one last man. Welcome to the Bank of Wind where all shinobi are welcomed. The bank worker said while passing out cards. Naruto felt that this place was the least dangerous and went in. The man was excited. The golden blonde walked in, It meant he wasn't going to get fired. Before Naruto could react, a woman walked him to a cubicle. Are you here to open an account? The woman said with a smile as they sat down. Before I do anything, I want to know more about this place. Naruto said, making the woman reach into her desk. Naruto instinctively reached for a kunai. He cursed himself since he was apparently unarmed. He calmed down when the woman brought out a pamphlet. Our bank originates from Wind Country. We just opened a branch here a week ago. But we haven't received many customers. The woman said with much disappointment. It's not your fault, the problem is that Konoha is greedy and likes keeping its money. Naruto said, making the woman smile. Our bank won't charge you as high interest rates as others. Also, if you open an account today, you get this for free. The woman said, showing Naruto a small booklet. What's that? This is a 1-week stay at Suna's most wonderful hotel. The woman said, making Naruto take the item to see them. Are they real? The sapphire-eyed teen said, making the woman laugh. Our bank may be small here, but in Wind Country we have a lot of influence. The woman said, making Naruto shrug his shoulders. He didn't like any of the other banks and this place was somewhat decent. Plus they offered him a free gift. No one ever gave him anything as a gift. He spent an hour opening an account. He never knew keeping his money safe was such hard work. His banker was surprised at all the money he had. Even in Konoha she knew most shinobi only carried a fourth of what he had saved. Naruto couldn't help but smile when he told her he planned to use his money soon. The woman had instantly lost her smile. He put his precious gift in the near-empty metal box. Only leaving enough to pay for a deposit, he left the bank to work on his new life. Plus asterisk plus. Though he had sworn to himself to become stronger, he had no real idea on how to do it. That was until he remembered what was on his arm. Before he could do anything, he wanted answers. After a bit of cursing, the golden blonde was making a beeline to another place he had long ignored. In a few minutes he came upon the village's library. Unknown to him, someone had seen him go in. Naruto was led by the receptionist to a few books about gauntlets and ancient rings. Naruto spent an hour going through the ring book, trying to find something that matched his. Only to finish the book with no real leads. Another hour and the book of gauntlets was completely useless to him. The golden blonde leaned back and rubbed his temples as he had seen the old man do when Naruto caused him paperwork. What are you looking for? A voice said with all the kindness and sweetness in the world. A ring with this mark. Naruto said while pointing at the drawing on a scroll he had made. That's the mark of the Mandarin. It represents wind if I remember correctly. The voice said, making Naruto to stop leaning back on the chair and look at who helped him. His eyes grew as he saw Ino standing there. I've never seen you read so much before. The platinum blonde said with a smile, after noticing Naruto's brain had shut down. I don't think you've taken a real look at me before. Naruto said, making Ino glare. Jerk, I was trying to be nice and give you a compliment. Wait. He's a social retard. Calm down, and I'm calm. Ino thought before smiling at Naruto again. I won't help you with the Mandarin anymore if you don't show me the respect I deserve. Ino said with a fake pout, making Naruto let out a sigh. What a shame, and here I hoped we could have had so much fun working together. Naruto said with sarcasm that Ino did not appreciate. At least buy me dinner for helping you. Ino said, making Naruto think. As long as you promise to not tell anyone about what we talked about. Naruto said, making the platinum blonde nod her head. She had wasted her graduation money while pampering herself and was running on an empty stomach. Ino was surprised when Naruto collected his things and went to get help finding new books. She couldn't remember the last time Naruto looked so dedicated. She wondered why this Naruto never showed up at school. His dark look clearly was intimidating, and his long sleeve made anyone careful of his right arm. The idea of a concealed weapon filled her head. Thank you once again for the help. Naruto said, making the librarian to smile. His words made Ino remember what she had to do to eat. My father knows a lot about the Mandarin. Ino said as Naruto sat down to read. My great-grandfather spent years doing research, but it was all lost during Kyuubi's attack. According to legend, the Mandarin had 5 great rings of power, each representing a different element. The cerulean-eyed young lady, as she thought of herself, said with great pride as if she had done all the work. Did your grandfather ever find images of these great rings? Naruto said, making Ino shake her head. My great-grandfather was a quack. He thought he was a descendant of the Mandarin. Ino said, making Naruto look at her with new interest. His powerful glare made her blush. Is that all you know? Naruto said while preparing to open his book. Ino quickly got control of herself once again. Legend says that the Mandarin had lived for 500 years before being defeated by the Iron Fighter. The reason my grandfather stopped his research was because he had discovered the Mandarin's curse. Ino said, making Naruto get serious. The original Mandarin was to be reborn in its descendants. My dad says such a thing is impossible. Ino said, making Naruto wonder if the man was right. After all, he considered the Kyuubi impossible to fit in him, but it was great something else that might drive me insane. The golden blonde thought as he caught a quick glance at his stomach and then his right arm. When the Mandarin first died, his rings and armor were cast throughout his kingdom. Many tried to claim his name and power, but all have failed. Ino said, making Naruto nod his head. She was shocked that Naruto collected his books and stood. You've already given me more than enough information for today. I'm going to check these books out. Wait for me outside. Naruto said, making Ino glare at him. Oh no, I'm not stupid. I've escaped plenty of losers with the wait outside trick. I know you're planning to use the windows. Ino said, making Naruto smile. I'm an honest guy, Ino. I never considered bailing on my promise. Naruto said, making Ino look at him with disbelief. I always keep my word even if I have to do something I don't like. Naruto said as he headed towards the checkout desk. You don't like spending time with me. Ino said, making the dark blonde to look at her. There's one thing I have in common with Sasuke, we both hate fangirls. Naruto said, making Ino look at him with rage. She had been labeled that way by many before. Ino tried to hit Naruto on the back of the head. He instantly tilted it, making her hit a bookshelf. Naruto smirked as he heard thousands of books hit the ground. Looks like you're going to be here for a while. Naruto said, making Ino and the librarian look at him in disbelief. Naruto brought out a bill and gently swung it to Ino's direction. Enjoy your dinner, Naruto said before walking out with 3 thin books, leaving a fuming Ino and a librarian to pity him. You really are a pig, a voice said, making Ino to turn with rage. The platinum blonde had been happily eating a Japanese dessert before being rudely interrupted. What do you want, billboard brow? Ino said, making the pink-haired girl mad. Have you seen Naruto? Some girls got between me and Sasuke-kun. I need to let off some steam. Sakura said while cracking her knuckles. I wouldn't be messing with him if I was you. Ino said, making Sakura look at her, before a smug look filled her face. Why not? I'm not scared of Naruto like you. Sakura said, making Ino blush. When they were smaller, Ino believed the rumors that the kind golden blonde really was a monster. It had taken a few years of being near him for Ino not to shake when he came around. She would have liked to apologize for her cold behavior from when she was younger. Yet the fear stayed in her since she saw that there was only one person in school that had been able to best the blonde in raw power. That person was a professional ninja. She feared that now he could snap her neck in half and was too dangerous to admit to him the wrongs she did long ago. I'm not scared of Naruto, it's just that, Ino said with hesitation, making Sakura smirk. Don't tell me you like that freak. Sakura said, making Ino look at her in disbelief. Of course not. Naruto is so stupid, Ino said before the sight of a researching golden blonde came and filled her mind. Ugly, Ino said after shaking her head to get rid of the blonde from her head. Only to see Naruto in his new intimidating clothes, his cold dark stare that ran a chill down her spine. The way his hair flowed free, making him look more mature and vicious. Sakura wondered why her rival was suddenly acting so strange. I don't like Naruto, it's just that. Ino said, struggling to keep her mouth under control. Her father had told her what happened to the blonde to help calm his nerves. Only to make Ino an emotional mess. I can't say. Just leave Naruto alone. He isn't being the same idiot we know. Ino said before paying for her food as Sakura looked at her with confusion. The platinum blonde was excited to know she still had money for a few magazines. Sakura snorted and walked away. She knew the golden blonde would never do anything to her. He loved her and only her. He would die for her, so he would gladly take her beatings and then call her the prettiest girl in the world. Sakura smiled as she remembered the perks of having her own private fanboy. Plus asterisk, asterisk plus. Naruto closed his third book, seeing that the early signs of light began to fill his temporary room. He had never spent so much time reading. He had stayed up for over 20 hours for his shinobi training but never to read. Naruto wasn't sure if he was able to distinguish fact from fiction. Since the three books spoke about the Mandarin legend, some of the things he read were extreme even by his standards, which had greatly changed recently. He didn't even believe that a cage was capable of such power. There was one thing that disturbed him about the Mandarin the most. The man was pure evil. When Ino had first told him about the amazing power of the Mandarin, he figured that the man was one of the awesome good guys he grew up hearing about. After all, the man had made a kingdom with his own bare hands and suffered a great number of ordeals to obtain the rings. The Mandarin's empire had lasted for 400 of his 500 years of life. According to the books, the rings had extended his life. He didn't know if he could trust the books. He feared that he would be tempted to do things he wouldn't like. Thought he wasn't sure the Mandarin's power should be allowed to found by some wacko. Still, to become Hokage, or just gain any form of respect, he knew power was needed. Naruto looked at the ring on his right arm as it pulsed with the promise of accomplishing all of his dreams. The Mandarin had respect and power. He took what he wanted, and during the time of his rule no other force grew to oppose him. Naruto started chuckling. There was no way for a human to have so much power. The blonde calmed down and looked out a window. This is foolish. I mean, if the legends are true, I would be able to got to this window, point my finger and say burnin'. Naruto said as he pointed his index finger to a tower of water. His eyes grew in disbelief as the fire gem glowed brighter than before. He could feel his chakra gather to his armored arm. The silver metal turned into molten red as his chakra flowed to his hand. His breath became unstable as his chakra was forced to collect in his index finger. It shot through the glass as a line of flames, welding its way through the water tower. Naruto wasn't able to see it, but the flames continued through the village, torching many things in its way, finally stopping at the village's defensive walls. The village went into red alert, thinking their enemies were testing out a new weapon. Thanks to the mayhem, Naruto was allowed to rest for 3 days without having to pay. The golden blonde was glad the man was being questioned, which was why the Anbu told him to leave the building. Naruto couldn't believe what he caused, though it made him excited. He made sure to do more research before experimenting again. There was too much he didn't know on what the rings were really capable of. However, the taste of so much power was something he never had before. Especially after hearing from a shinobi that his attack had done so much damage in a few seconds. He was going to have fun learning more about his weapon, but for the moment there was something he found in the books that caught his attention. Which was the reason he now walked into a shinobi store. It was a peaceful day in Konohagakure. The sun was shining, the birds were singing. Yet one man didn't feel right. Something was telling him to close his shop. His gut was screaming for him to go home and hold his family, as whatever evil that was to plague the village would disappear. He was about to throw that way of thought away until he heard his doorbell ring. His eyes grew as he saw the blonde hair of a certain demon walk in. "Hey, you are not allowed in here," the now angry owner said, making Naruto glare at him. The man rushed back in fear, nearly wetting himself as he hit the wall. This isn't right. He's supposed smile, walk out and go rot somewhere. The man thought with fear as the golden blonde walked closer with confidence. I want everything you have based on the Mandarin style of the fallen Jade Empire. Naruto said, making the man's eyes to grow in disbelief. I don't have that here, and even if I did, I wouldn't give it to you. The man said, making Naruto's glare to intensify. His sudden bloodlust was now making the man want to soil himself even more than before. Then you are useless to me, Naruto said as he placed his hands on the counter in a threatening way. Pray we do not meet in the streets, the golden blonde said before leaving a terrified villager. Naruto was brewing up a storm throughout the village after a day of searching for the Mandarin style. This is insane. The Mandarin style was used by an army of thousands centuries ago. Why can't I find a single scroll? Naruto thought to himself, only to forget he would think out loud when at this level of rage. That's because the Mandarin style is forbidden, a man said, making the sapphire-eyed teen to turn. Naruto had never seen the man before. He was heavily covered in bandages. He didn't trust him, mainly because he had not sensed the old geezer. What fool came up with that idea? Naruto said with annoyance. The first council of cages, after a hidden group attempted to remake the Jade Empire. The man said, making a smirk find its way to Naruto. The Jade Empire is nothing without the Mandarin and his rings. Naruto said with arrogance. So true, why is it that you of all people wish to possess the Mandarin style? The man asked, making Naruto's smirk to grow. The academy style is only for the academy. It might work against bandits, but it's going to get me dead when I go up against shinobi. I heard the legend of the Mandarin recently. I figured it was something I could look into. Naruto said, making the man smirk. You don't fool me, boy. The man said, making Naruto's eyes to grow. I know what you hide under those bandages. The man said, making Naruto's exposed arm go to his right arm. I also know the pain of having a damaged limb, one so disturbing it kills you if others see it. The man said as Naruto looked at his arm. I was too old to adapt to the Mandarin style, but you shouldn't have a problem. Go to this place, they should be able to get you what you need and more. The Mandarin is something that the public fears. Always keep true to your shinobi training and those fears will disappear. The man said, making Naruto bow in gratitude after taking a note. The man soon left with a smile. I hope for your sake this information is correct, old man, Naruto said with a whisper, making Danzo to smirk. The report is true, the boy has changed since the last attempt on his life. If things go well, he will bring glory to the village. Danzo thought as he sensed Naruto walk away. It had not taken long for the master of Root to hear that Naruto had been harassing village merchants for the Mandarin-based things he seeked. Danzo made sure the council or the Hokage didn't get word of this. He believed that Naruto carried great potential due to his greater burden. He found the leaders of his home fools for casting the boy away. His disgust in the ignorant populace grew as he saw the village worship the son of the second greatest traitor the world could have seen. He wondered how his home could be so blind. The man hated the Hokage for preventing him from raising a great shinobi. To make things worse, the man had said that Danzo only saw Naruto as a weapon. Danzo was not a fool, he knew more than he let on. Plus asterisk, asterisk plus. I knew I would find you here, Ino said as Naruto was heading to the library. I'm returning what I borrowed, Naruto said as he carried the books with his left arm. Couldn't read them, Ino said with a teasing tone. I'm done with them, what do you want? Naruto said, making Ino to smile. A dress, Ino said, making Naruto to look at her with annoyance. You have nothing I need, Naruto said, making Ino to turn. A smile slowly grew on her face. I got you just where I want you, Ino thought as she let out a light giggle. Oh, I don't about that. Remember how I told you my great-grandfather never found the rings? Ino said, making Naruto to look at her with his eyes full of thirst. Ino felt powerful. She liked having control over someone, especially this new Naruto. Seems I was wrong. Well, not technically, Ino said, making Naruto confused. My great-grandfather did know of the location of one ring, Ino said, making Naruto's eyes to grow. Where? Tell me now. The old Naruto would have yelled as he shook the platinum blonde in front of him. Has the location changed? Naruto asked, making Ino to turn with her victory smile. Nope, just looked into it this morning. Ino said with her smile as she handed Naruto a magazine. I'm guessing this is the dress you want. Naruto said as he held a fashion magazine. Exactly, there's only one left, but I blew my allowance and bonuses for the year. Get it for me, Ino said with pleading eyes as Naruto had a mental debate with himself. You have yet to fail me with the information you have given me before, so I will buy the dress, but you won't get it until I see the ring. The Mandarin is quite unique, Naruto said as Ino was also finding the old legend useful. Though she wished she had more info to sell. Ino followed Naruto into the library before taking him to her favorite store. Ino wanted to hide as she saw Sakura in the store with their moms. It's hard having a love rival when my mom is friends with Sakura's mom. Ino thought as she hid behind a rack of clothes. Hey mom, there's the dress I want. Sakura said, making Ino's heart to tighten up. She always has to copy me. The platinum teen thought as she hid. I'm sorry dear, it's just too expensive. After a few missions you can buy whatever you want. Sakura's mom said, making Ino to sigh in relief. Ino's been going on about that dress since she saw it in her magazine the other day. Ino's mom said, making Ino embarrassed and Sakura mad. I doubt that fat pig won't look as good in it as I would. Inner Sakura said with pride. Mom, that dress is the hottest thing ever. Ino will get Sasuke-kun before me if she wears that dress. Sakura said, making the mothers laugh. Yeah right, Sasuke-kun only loves me. Inner Sakura said as she was wrapped in a seductive embrace by an imaginary Sasuke. You don't have to worry about that, Sakura. She won't be getting that dress anytime soon, I can guarantee that. Ino's mom said, making Sakura to smile as her daughter became depressed. What can I help you with, sir? A female worker said while feeling uncomfortable. Naruto never knew glaring was so beneficial. The whole day he had learned the value of scaring others. She wants that dress, and I want it on her as fast as possible. Naruto said, making the woman to quickly nod her head. Many of the women shopping turned to his direction. It seemed they also had their hearts set on the dress, thought the golden blonde did not think for a second that they would look good in it. Naruto, have you even seen the price on this? Ino said, making Naruto to look at her. She herself had yet to see the price, she just wanted it because it looked good in the magazine. The dress isn't yours until I get what I want, Naruto said, making Sakura and the other women to blush. How dare you take advantage of my daughter? Ino's mom said, making Ino to look beet red. Before anyone in the room could react, the protective mother had slapped Naruto. You are as foolish as your daughter, Naruto said as the hit left no mark on his face. How dare you? The mother said with great rage. Your daughter contains something very important to me. Due to your poor parenting, I can only unlock the information by buying her stuff. Other than that, she is useless to me, Naruto said, making the women to look at him with disbelief then rage. Naruto, that's a really messed up thing to say even by your standards, Sakura said as she cracked her knuckles. That's right, you put that skinny whore down. Keep it up and I won't hit you for doing such a good job, Inner Sakura said with a smile as she held a collar with a rabid Naruto trying to get to a scared Ino. Did I lie? Ino's obsession with Sasuke has her selling information from her self-proclaimed quack ancestor. An obsession that a good mother would have put to rest. I advise you to back off before you make a scene, Naruto said with a cold tone. Ino's mother was going to hit Naruto again. The woman was surprised to see her husband hold her hand. Daddy, Ino said in shock as the man looked very upset. He had been sitting in a chair with a few other men. That's enough, dear. Uzumaki, what information does my daughter have that is so important to you? Inoichi said with a glare. Don't worry about it, Naruto said as the dress was handed to Ino in a box. Naruto paid for the dress and Ino handed him the documentation she had. You might be a fangirl, Ino, but I hope you have enough honor to be professional and keep your mouth shut, Naruto said as he walked out of the store. Ino was red as her parents were glaring at her. The platinum blonde tried to look as innocent as possible as her parents grew more with fury. Sakura on the other hand still wanted the dress and was cursing herself for not using her fanboy. Shanaru. Naruto is my bitch. His money is only to be used on me. Inner Sakura screamed as she sat on a throne that Naruto happily carried while praising her as the greatest thing ever. The village of Konoha, a proud and happy place, except when a certain blonde-haired Jinchuriki would run chaos throughout the shinobi village. All of the villages knew he was evil given a human body, with his evil schemes, his evil hairstyle, his evil walk, his evil clothes, his evil smell. Heck, even the way he read about the great museums of the world was evil. Many villagers had to take a second look at the golden blonde. They couldn't believe the subject he was reading, in fact they couldn't believe he even knew how to read to begin with. Uzumaki Naruto had an interesting week. He had stopped a traitor from stealing a historical treasure, which he stole himself. Then learned he contained the strongest mass of chakra known to the world. Then was given a field promotion for using a high-level jutsu he had spent many hours to learn. Getting chased away from the only shinobi that saw him as human. Being left to burn in his own apartment. Learning that he possessed the Mandarin's ring that had reacted to him and now gave him a wicked arm. Finally to being harassed by a certain flower-growing Yamanaka for money. The golden blonde was walking on the main street as he read the magazine that he had to buy at a ridiculous rate from one Yamanaka Ino. Using his unbandaged arm to hold the magazine, as he read the article about the ancient ring which was considered a national treasure. So the daimyo of Earth holds claim over the Ring of Earth, a bit simple-minded if you ask me. It shouldn't be too hard to get my hands on it. Naruto said as he entered the dark part of the village. He could see prostitutes, shady dealers, bookies and some other dark things before looking for a certain bar. Wow, this place looks like crap and the people here are ready to stab each other in the back. I should probably move down here to lower the chances of getting attacked. The golden blonde thought as he came to a stop. This place isn't for snot-nosed brats. A man said as he stood in front of Naruto. The bouncers were clearly not shinobi but contained enough skill to defeat most civilians. Too bad for them, the sun-kissed blonde had just been promoted from civilian. The two guards watched in disbelief as 30 Narutos appeared out of thin air. The screaming men had soon been moved from the doorway. The real golden blonde walked with a smirk as the two large men were forced to kneel before him as he made his way to the door and the last doorman. Remember my face, Naruto said as he slipped some money to the now smirking goon. The cigar smoke-filled room soon grew silent as Naruto came in. He easily ignored the odd looks and whispers as he reached the bartender. What's your poison, kid? The one-eyed man said as Naruto looked at him. Give me the dragon's blood and some alone time with Misty, I heard she's good. Naruto said, making the man's single eye to grow. Sure thing, she'll be waiting at the last room to the right. The man said as he handed Naruto a glass with green liquid that was releasing a constant fog. He wondered what evil was in the drink. Naruto took the drink and headed towards the designated door. He opened it and went into the dark room. The sound of a great struggle was heard once the thick door closed. The bartender and a few hidden employees in the crowd smiled. The lights turned on and Naruto reappeared beaten and tied to a chair. A short red-haired woman with some curves walked up to the blonde. The large thugs moved from her path. She was a bit shocked such a small kid had caused so much damage to her men. I'm guessing you're Misty. The occupants of the room turned to the voice in disbelief. They were shocked to see the golden blonde sit in the chair Misty had been in. How? The redhead asked with no sign of being caught off guard, even though she was. When I was handed this, Naruto said as he placed the unknown drink on the fancy oak desk. I noticed the old Cyclops messing with the bottom of his counter. Figured he was warning someone about me, so I sent a clone and used a simple henge to blend in when the fight started. Shit. This is why I hate getting involved with shinobi. Misty thought as the tied-up clone turned into a cloud of smoke. Before you turds try anything, I want you to know I have 4 clones outside ready to head to the tower, if I stop my sudden stream of chakra. Naruto said with a smile after seeing a few men reach for weapons. What do you want? Misty said with a cold stare as she saw Naruto look completely carefree and in control. The question is, what do you want? Naruto said as he slid the drink on the table. The redhead slowly walked up to him and took the drink. Her eyes grew as she saw a small envelope under the drink. So he sent you, Misty said with a smirk as she finished reading the message. It was a large wad of cash from Danzo. She had recognized the kanji for root Danzo used on his wax seal, when he was serious. To the surprise of her guards, their boss motioned for them to leave. She didn't like the fact that Naruto made so sign of planning to get off her chair. I was told that you could get me the Mandarin style, Naruto said, making the woman almost snort. TCH, that old thing. Yeah, I got it, somewhere, Misty said before snapping her finger, making a nerdy-looking worker to enter the room. She whispered to his ear and got some very quick nods from the man. The greasy-haired man quickly left to get what she wanted. Naruto noticed that he came from a secret door leading underground, than the door the guards had used to leave. This place is secured, but I don't trust my men to all of my items. They are sealed and labeled with numbers that only I know how to work, Misty said with arrogance, making Naruto to smirk. Your friend wants to take care of the bill for the scroll, but you don't seem like the type to owe debts. I'll give you the scroll if you do a job for me, the woman said as she tossed a scroll from the top of her desk to Naruto. All I want is confirmation, find a safe route to it and then I'll take care of the rest, Misty said with the smile most lawyers gave to their suckers, I mean clients. Let's see what happens first, Naruto said as he stood while reading the scroll. I'll be back soon, Naruto said as he walked past the redhead. I'll be waiting, boy, Misty said with no sign that she had faith in the golden blonde's abilities. Naruto couldn't wait to see her face when he came back. Plus asterisk, asterisk plus. I hate you, Yamanaka Ino yelled before running upstairs to her room. The last hours had been the worst of her life. Her parents had not only chewed her out for insulting her ancestor, but also for blackmailing Naruto when she should happily help him get to his feet. They had even gone as far as to question her about her life with the golden blonde, which had completely embarrassed her since she hadn't even had her first kiss, much less perform the acts her mom had said. She wondered what horrors her parents did when she wasn't around. No, she took that back, she didn't want to know. The final nail in the coffin was that her parents wanted her to return her new expensive name brand dress that Naruto had happily bought for her. They had even gone so far to say that if she didn't return it, they were going to give it to Sakura. It's not fair. This is my dress, why do I have to give it to Billboard Brow? Ino thought as she yelled into her pillow. It was already soaked with her tears in hopes that her crying would change her parents' mind. Ino figured it didn't work an hour later when her parents hadn't come in with a change of heart. Fine, I'll take it back, Ino thought before her conscience had finally convinced her that her parents were right. But not until after I'm done wearing it, Ino said before she quickly got out of her clothes to change. Careful dummy, you almost removed the tag, Ino scolded herself before slowing down. Plus asterisk, asterisk plus. Naruto was sitting in the shadows of a house as he looked at the house that belonged to a council member. I don't sense anyone that could cause me trouble, or any traps. All that is left is my distraction. These village makes it too easy, Naruto thought before signaling a clone to start. It transformed into Sasuke and went to a group of teenage girls. The fake heartthrob said a few words before the girls started to fight among themselves, though they had been great friends only a few moments ago. Before long, people began to rush outside of their homes to see what was going on. Naruto smirked as he saw an old man with a stick up his and his 3 spoiled sons run outside. What are you stupid hussies doing outside of my house? The man yelled before flash bombs went off, blinding the block. His clones rushed to find the room with the treasure. Naruto hurried and memorized as much as he could before leaving. Like I said, too easy, Naruto said as he was in the safety of Konoha's Red District. He had spent an hour collecting and sorting the data his clones gave him. The golden blonde was a bit surprised to see Misty waiting for him in the public bar, but it went away when he noticed no customers in the building. What the hell was that about? I wanted you to be secretive about what you did, not announce it to the world. What kind of shinobi are you? Misty said with rage. Naruto ignored her as he approached with a smirk. He counted 30 armed goons. He wanted to laugh at their stupidity, for wanting to take on a guy that can make hundreds of copies of himself. He thanked Mizuki for teaching him how to never be outnumbered. I was planning a prank on the councilman's son a while back. They will be so busy looking for me that you can practically walk in through the front door. This will tell you how to do it right. Naruto said before exposing a simple scroll. My little stunt has give you more than one way in and out. Naruto said as Misty tried to take the scroll. Patience. Naruto said as he got the scroll out of her reach. Misty snapped her fingers and a man brought a large scroll. As promised, the Mandarin style in all of its dark glory. Containing all 6 ring stances, you won't find a better copy. The woman said as Naruto gave her the scroll. Misty turned and prepared to leave to her office. I want to buy you a drink to celebrate. Naruto said, making the redhead turn to look at him. To celebrate our friendship. Naruto said, making Misty nod her head. What's so important that a kid like you will continue to associate it with us? Misty asked as Naruto slid her the drink he had bought. They had traveled in silence and she quickly rushed to sit in her chair. She didn't know why, but she had the gut feeling Naruto was going to take it. What do you mean? Naruto said, making the redhead laugh. Don't play dumb, I know who you are. Word of your dream has probably already reached Iowa by now. Misty said, making the golden blonde to smirk as he sat in the chair in front of her. In case you haven't noticed, but this isn't the place a future Kage will hang at, much less a respectable shinobi of Konohagakure. Misty said, making Naruto's smirk show no change. I do things my way. To be the greatest Hokage, I'm going to do things differently. Naruto said, making Misty smile. I think this is the start of a beautiful friendship. The redhead said, making Naruto's smirk to grow. It's going to take more than this, for me to consider you a friend. You can start by finding me these 3 rings. Naruto said as he handed a paper to Misty. What's so important about these rings? They belong to the Mandarin. It would help improve the image I wish to create. If I can use his style while wearing his rings. Naruto said as a dark air came from his body, making Misty make sure not to get on his wrong side. Oh, and any new information on the Mandarin you can obtain will help me. I'll make sure to compensate you and your men. Naruto said before giving her a light head bow. He soon left after he finished his words. The redhead hadn't relaxed until he was reported gone from the bar. Kyuubi's chakra and the Mandarin's rings. If Danzo plans to help this kid, it's because he knows something. Misty said as she looked at the image of 3 rings with 3 symbols. 2 men hungry for the title of Hokage. Which one will I help? The redhead said to herself as she took in the things Naruto said and uncovered in the council member's house. Plus asterisk, asterisk plus. What are you doing here? Naruto said with annoyance as Ino was breathing hard. She had been running all over the village hoping to find him. She had also been left to knock on his door for 5 minutes as she clearly saw Naruto on a bed. The new motel he was in had windows to see the outside. Naruto allowed her to scream and pound on the door long enough before the management was called for her making a scene. Why didn't you open for me? Ino said as she stared down the golden blonde. She let out a sigh as she brought the bag with her dress to him. Her body was shaking while fighting the urge to not return the dress. My dad wants you to have this and for me to return this. Ino said as she offered the bag to Naruto. He saw a familiar box and a storage scroll. I'm guessing that's the Mandarin's information from your quack relative. That one must be the dress then. Naruto said, making Ino nod her head. He could see the regret in her eyes. The dress is yours. Where you keep it is up to you. Naruto said, making Ino look at him in shock. Don't do this to me, Naruto. My dad said not to come home until you took the dress back. Ino said as Naruto went to close the large scroll he had been reading before Ino got too curious. If she wasn't so devastated about returning the dress, she would had already nagged him about the ancient scroll. Memo to self, bitch to Naruto later about that old scroll. Ino thought as the golden blonde turned to look at her. That dress is useless to me. I don't practice cross-dressing and it was fitted for you. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't give it to Sakura. Finally, that store you picked is for women only, with a store credit policy, might I add. Naruto said, making Ino feel terrible. Keep it in your house, or throw it in the trash. I don't care. Naruto said as he cut Ino off before she could apologize for taking advantage of him. Why are you being like this? Why can't I apologize to you? Ino thought as her heart filled with pain at the cold and harsh tone Naruto used. I need to take a shower. I would prefer if you would leave. Naruto said as he got a change of clothes from a bag. Naruto was never this mean to me, even when he left me to hang at the library, at least then he still had his smirk. So why is he being so cruel? It's almost like I don't know him. Wait, what was it that daddy always used to say? But there's no way Naruto could. Ino thought as she looked at the golden blonde. What are you waiting for? You some kind of reverse pervert. Naruto said as Ino swallowed her spit to talk. Here goes nothing. Ino thought as she looked into Naruto's eyes to see if she was making a mistake. Since you don't care what I do with it, can I leave it in your dresser? Ino said, making Naruto to turn from her and head to the bathroom. The platinum blonde was sweating bullets as she awaited Naruto to insult her after placing his towel on his shoulder. I don't care what you do, but this isn't my home. Naruto said, making Ino to give him an honest smile. I know, so until you get a new home, kept it in the bag, then leave some place in your house for it, please. Ino said, making the golden blonde to smirk, which brought her a blush and some relief. Whatever, but you owe me Yamanaka. Naruto said before Ino left with a skip to the door. I'll let you take me out on a date. Ino said with a teasing tone as she tried to look as cute and sexy as possible. I was hopping for something with real value. Naruto said, making Ino pout before sticking her tongue at him and slamming the door. Took that airhead long enough, and people call me slow. Naruto said as he went to relax a bit. Plus asterisk plus. Is that really Naruto? The newest group of Konoha shinobi thought as they saw the golden blonde walk in. Even though they had heard about the attack on his body, they couldn't believe the radical changes that happened to him. At first glance one could see his physical changes. Long gone was his eye-catching orange and blue jumper. Now replaced by an almost all-black outfit. The most noticeable change, which had been the thing to catch Ino's attention, was the fact that he no longer carried his famous smile. Naruto walked with a new attitude. As a new person, he considered himself reborn from the fires the village used on him. His now free golden hair and the face, that was allowed to relax from all of its forced smiling, made him look more mature. The world-famous mark of a Konoha shinobi was tightly wrapped around his right bicep. Though many girls would not admit it, they got a bit excited at seeing Naruto. Needless to say, one Hyuga Hinata was pushed over the edge by her ridiculous feelings for the blonde and now laid in a puddle of her own blood. Naruto-kun. The young and often questioned heir thought as she fell to her world of bliss. No longer will you fools look down on me. I'm not the stupid boy you idiots knew. Uzumaki Naruto thought as he sat down in his old seat. Due to the acts of Mizuki's lover, the students had been given an additional 3 weeks of vacation than the normal one. The Hokage had wanted the sun-kissed blonde to relax and get used to his injuries. Naruto instead had spent every day of that time off working to master the Mandarin style. Something he knew wasn't going to happen with the little bit of time he had. Due to his die-hard attitude and Spartan-like training, he was now able to get into his stances and practices his katas, without looking at the scroll to see if he did something wrong. His body still ached from the body training he had to do, often using clones to act like drill instructors. He heard his longtime rival curse when the sound of running in a cat fight came to the room. Naruto didn't need to turn his head to know who had just come in. I win. Ino and Sakura yelled as one. No, I did. Stop copying everything I say. No, you are copying me. Stupid pig. Pink-haired bitch. Ino paused and looked at Sakura as the girl was completely caught off guard. The platinum blonde didn't mean to have taken their argument so far. What are you smirking at, Dobi? Aren't you Sakura's guardian? She'll start crying if you don't protect her. That girl is useless without you to hold her hand. The raven-haired prodigy said as Naruto looked at him with the corner of his eyes. Off. Naruto said, making the class shocked. Reason 1 was that they also expected Naruto to come flying to Sakura's rescue. Reason 2 was they were waiting for the fight to come since Sasuke had insulted Naruto's crush. Sasuke-kun, why are you doing this to me? Don't you know I love you? You are everything to me, why won't you acknowledge me? Don't my feelings matter to you? Don't you care how your words cut me worse than any kunai can ever hope to dream? Inner Sakura said as her outer person was too heartbroken to do anything. Sakura did look ready to cry. Ino was feeling really terrible since not that long ago they were best friends. The moist emerald green eyes were staring at her love with all the pain of the world. They cleared up when she saw the familiar sun-kissed hair. Shanaru. Naruto, you stupid useless turd. Why aren't you ripping Ino's head off? I am your queen, no, I am your goddess. You're supposed to throw your life away to protect me. I give your pitiful existence a reason to live. Now come here and be a good loyal slave and make me feel better. Inner Sakura yelled as she brought out a key that was hidden between her growing. She made her way to a large cage where Naruto was standing ever ready to do her bidding. Come here, Naruto, my precious fool. Your master has been hurt by that blonde-haired and Sasuke-kun needs to be reminded on how great I am. Fill you master's ear with the great praise that only you can sing. Inner Sakura said as she unlocked the cage. She stepped to the side and saw the newer Naruto break through like a savage beast, the same beast Sakura had been told all her life that Naruto is. Though the bubble-gum-haired teen loved the raven-hair heartthrob, it still made her feel better when Naruto would savagely attack him for hurting her. She would get to see Sasuke work up a sweat and it felt nice that Naruto was willing to draw blood for her. She figured he would probably kill for her if she asked him with a smile. Well, Sakura said after Inner Sakura got frustrated at the fact nothing was happening. The golden blonde sat quietly, which brought shock to the students. It didn't take long for Sakura to lose her patience with the sun-kissed blonde. Naruto. The room got real quiet from the awkward feelings filling the room. Sakura and Ino had made their way near Naruto, Sakura to get her pet to do something and Ino to see how the golden blonde had been. Plus asterisk, asterisk plus. As all of this was happening, Naruto's mind was going over the odd event involving a certain boy. One he had ran into again earlier in the morning. That boy greatly reminded him of his old foolish self. He hated that. Naruto had met the honored grandson as he turned in his shinobi registration. The Hokage had praised him for doing a good job. Naruto didn't know his instincts had improved so much from his training, but they did, which is why they kicked in when the screen door was opened. While a weak wave of killing intent was directed towards the Hokage, Naruto threw a few of his new kunai, pinning, to his surprise, a small boy. The child hadn't been allowed to make his Hokage rant and now a shinobi had attacked him. The Hokage had explained the situation before his grandson could cry, though he was left pinned to the wall during the explanation. Both were surprised to see the kunai instantly make its way back to Naruto. He used ninja wire to call them back. How long has he been able to use it with such skill? The Hokage and his advisors thought along with the Junin instructor of the honored grandson. Naruto was never allowed to carry many weapons on him, since they were so expensive. Getting tired of going after them, Naruto would always have 5 kunai and shuriken attached with ninja wire. To make it easier to find and collected them. He stopped using the wire openly since Sasuke had copied him. Unknown to the golden blonde, his manipulation of projectiles with ninja wire rivaled a certain chocolate-eyed girl with an obsession for all things pointy. A level of skill Sasuke didn't care to obtain. Naruto then silently walked past the boy that had started to glare at him. The golden blonde had been annoyed for hours as Konohamaru followed his every move. Saying he wanted to become his subordinate, Naruto smirked at those words. He knew what jutsu would be best for the small knucklehead. Their training hadn't been allowed to get far before being interrupted by the glasses-wearing Junin. Naruto was disappointed at himself, but hitting the private instructor with a sea of girls was fun. Though he promised himself never to use such a technique again. Plus asterisk, asterisk plus. What's wrong with your face? Ino said as the golden blonde had ignored Sakura's glare and harsh words. What about it? Naruto said, making Ino smirk in a playful way. I don't know what you were thinking, but it made you ugly. Ino said, making the class laugh. Sakura was still planning ways to hurt her disobedient fanboy. We're going to need whips, chains, wax, a very secluded spot so that no one can hear him scream throughout the night, and if he survives, we might have to try the same thing with Sasuke-kun, but in a more romantic way. Inner Sakura said, making her outer persona blush. No one had seen it, but Sasuke had felt a cold feeling run down his spine. Naruto-kun isn't ugly, he is very handsome, and right now he's oh god, he is so hot. I want him to ravish me. Oh god. Hinata thought with a glare before loosing herself to her mature imagination. I was picturing you in that dress you made me buy. It made your butt look big and not in the good way. Naruto said, making Ino blush and the class to laugh. That's my boy. I knew you wouldn't betray me. Next time you ask me on a date, I'll let you buy me something expensive, that should make you happy for a long time. Inner Sakura said as she petted an image of Naruto on the head. Before Ino and Sakura could react, Naruto stood and forced the platinum blonde to sit in the only seat next to him. The strongest and loudest fangirls of the planet were left dumbstruck because of what happened. It didn't take long for Ino to notice she was next to Sasuke-kun. Naruto sat down and began to read a new book he had gotten at the library. Sakura, on the other hand, was still processing what had happened. Ino decided to get Naruto back for treating her so roughly, but she was grateful for what he did for her. Normally Naruto would give in to Sakura's bitching and allow her to sit next to Sasuke. Sakura stormed off as she saw Ino, making sure she knew she wasn't going to get up. How dare you do this to me, Naruto? I won't ever forgive you. I'll make you spend the rest of your life pleasing me before I even consider forgiving you. Inner Sakura said before her mind flashed with the thought of Naruto starting to get intimate with her. Does my master likes it when her fox does this? The golden blonde said as she sat on his lap, without his shirt on. They were in a bed in the most expensive hotel in Fire Country. The same one she planned to use while losing her virginity to Sasuke. The golden blonde was kissing her neck and ever so gently biting her, his hands running all over her body. Suddenly one snaked its way down her side, running its fingers on her stomach before entering. Yes, you stupid bitch, now get back to work. Inner Sakura moaned before the order persona shook her head. The last thing Sakura had saw was her pushing Naruto and suddenly grabbing Naruto's head and forcing it to the lower half of her body. Where the hell did that come from? Sakura thought before she sat down and noticed something that had never happened before finally happened. She had gotten excited from one of her fantasy, while not doing nothing more but fantasying. Not even her thoughts of her precious Sasuke-kun had caused that. Iruka came in and flinched when he saw Naruto. If Iruka had not accidentally driven Naruto away, the blonde wouldn't have been caught in the fire. The Chunin blamed himself for any wounds on the young blonde. Naruto, your hand, Iruka said with bulging eyes and pain in his voice. An inconvenience caused by the fire, Naruto said as the bandaged limb hanged on his right side. The blonde had learned people were nicer and underestimate him because of the fake injured limb. His long sleeve had been caught by his seat, making the bandaged hand to show to the class. A few gasped since they hadn't thought he had been badly hurt. Some wondered if he could even use it. Oye, I don't like people staring at it, Naruto said, making Iruka to cough. The man was once again blaming himself, swearing to do something to pay Naruto back for the treachery his two friends did. Right, Iruka said before starting to tell the class that they were one step closer to reaching their dreams. What kind of teacher allows his best friends to bring so much harm to his student? Iruka thought with great pain. Stupid Dobi, you'll be nothing more but a liability to the village. Sasuke thought with arrogance. Poor Naruto, I wonder if he is pain. Ino thought as she remembered the way he looked when he stood in his burned-down home. Almost like a kicked puppy. Don't worry Naruto-kun, I'm going to become strong, and when I'm heir you'll have all the money in the world, so you won't have to worry about working. With my political power you'll become Hokage. I promise. All I want in return is for you to love me. Hinata thought before a light moan escaped her lips. And give me 20 babies. Hinata thought before another moan was heard, but this one overshadowed by the sound of her head hitting the floor. Stupid Naruto. How dare you get hurt? You're supposed to work for me. You can't please me if you're broken. Why the hell are you so damn useless? Inner Sakura yelled as she beat a whimpering Naruto with a whip. That's right, fools, think what you want, but you and this cursed village won't ever be able to touch me again. Naruto thought as his left arm went over his right and rubbed the edge of his new ring. The village of Konohagakure was a place full of pride. Many of the young destined to protect them had just finished graduating. They were all together learning about who they were going to grow strong with. They all carried pride and joy about the fact they were one step closer to their dream. All but two certain blondes. One was upset at the fact she couldn't be with her true love, and the male blonde just didn't like who he was with. Naruto didn't like his team, however he knew nothing was going to change it. He also didn't feel like complaining. If he had time to whine then he could be training. So in the end that's what he did during his lunch break. He ate 20 rice balls in 5 minutes, a task almost impossible except to the Akamichi clan, and went to a nearby training ground. During the break after graduation he had located all of the training grounds in the village that meet the requirements of his Mandarin scroll. The golden blonde had started on preparing his body for the strikes his style did. Naruto was the last one to enter his class when lunch was over. Iruka was upset that Team 7 showed no sign of willing teamwork. He hoped the Junin instructor could change that. Naruto went back to reading his book while his team waited to be called. Sasuke was busy plotting ways to torture his brother for the horrors he did to him. He was already thinking what he wanted his new instructor to teach him. Sakura on the other hand was happily looking at her crush with dreamy eyes. Hoping to have the last Uchiha fall in love with her beauty. She sighed after 2 hours when nothing happened. Doesn't Sasuke-kun love me? Why is he like this? Maybe he doesn't know about the birds and the bees. That's it, it's the only logical reason on why he doesn't react to my natural beauty. There is only one way to test this. Inner Sakura said before her body turned from her beloved Uchiha. What do you want, Sakura-chan? Naruto said with a bored tone, even though he was reading, something told him she was looking at him. He couldn't understand why he was getting the sudden urge to jump up and down. He was a new man after all, the hiatus around his bicep said so. I knew it. There is no way in hell a guy isn't turned on by me. I'm so sexy it's almost a sin. Now then, you pale-skinned Adonis, submit to my beauty. Inner Sakura said with a smile before her outer personal went back to trying to seduce Sasuke. Leaving Naruto with a raised eyebrow. What did I see in her? Naruto thought before sighing and going back to his reading. Plus asterisk, asterisk plus. The Hokage was sitting in the room with the council in charge of helping him decide what was best for his home. They were going to go over the teams he had come up with. Why is that monster with Uchiha-sama and my daughter? A pink-haired woman said with rage. It was the only way to balance out the teams. No matter how much we dislike it, Sasuke works best around Naruto. Koharu said, making the civilians look at her. After going over the school records, we noticed that immediately after the day Naruto beat Sasuke in a subject, it would push our last Uchiha to train harder. The Hokage said, making many in the room shocked. Isn't Uzumaki-san the dead last? Shibi asked, making everyone agree with him. In things involving the academy he is. Danzo said, making the room look at him. We cannot deny the fact that the boy is more advanced in more shinobi required skills. He may not have the proper knowledge of our village's history, or the chakra control needed for simple jutsus. However, have you all already forgotten that the boy has accomplished an act that could have brought our village to its knees? Many times we have caught our enemies going after the forbidden scroll. It was the reason we left it with the Hokage, because he was strongest available to protect it. Not only did Naruto slip through high-level traps and shinobi, but somehow our leader wasn't able to find him. Danzo said, making the Hokage sweat. The man had not informed the village that he was knocked out by Naruto using his perverted nature against him. Stealing the forbidden scroll is an amazing act by itself, a task that no other shinobi could brag about. To make it even more amazing, the boy had even gone and learned one of the kinjutsus in less than a day. The chakra flowing through his body must be monstrous, if he was able to learn such a draining technique so fast and still cripple a Chunin. It seems I was right all along. That boy has a great potential and you fools have almost caused us to lose it. Danzo said, making the council upset. How is it our fault? A man with glasses said, making the bandaged war hero to look at him. Out of all here, your fault is greater than any other besides the Hokage. Danzo said, making his old friend upset. How dare you try to blame this on me? The man said with rage. You are in charge of the academy, why is it that your instructors never noticed Naruto's chakra capacity? During his stay in the hospital I had a nurse check his reserves, do you want to know what I found? Danzo said with a mocking tone. Stop being so troublesome and just say it. Shikaku said with a bored tone. Naruto's chakra is at a level she had never seen before. The only person that comes close to Naruto's chakra is Jiraiya. The man said, making the room shocked. The pathetic chakra control and jutsus available in the academy are useless to someone with so much chakra. Especially when they have never had proper training. Naruto's chakra is so large that more than likely he overpowered his jutsus, and I can assume that the instructors told him that he wasn't trying hard enough. A boy with no guidance will assume that meant he needed to pump more chakra into his technique, which resulted in his poor results. The academy had him doing something that was physically impossible for him. They wanted him to pass Shuza-size chakra through a straw. Danzo said, making the Akamichi head upset. You're right that the academy should have corrected this mistake, but isn't some of the blame on Naruto? Sum asked. How can it? The boy never received proper training. Compared to the other children's chakra, what he releases is nothing to him. Danzo said with a bored tone. Explain. A civilian asked. A shinobi has more strength, defense and stamina depending on his chakra. As we train, our physical energy improves our bodies. Other than Naruto, a young child with no real training, can you think of another person that can outrun shinobi for so long? Danzo asked, making the council think. Guy more than likely. Inoichi said, making a few shiver in disgust. My point exactly. Maida Guy is the only shinobi in the village with a ridiculous amount of stamina, but that is only because of all the inhuman training he practices. How is it that Naruto, a boy not even half his age, can compete with him? How can a dead last outrun, and outlast shinobi that have killed before? How can a boy contain so much energy that he can create hundreds of physical clones without dying? Danzo said, making the council quiet. It's because of Kyuubi. A civilian council man said with rage. Yes, it is Kyuubi that has given Naruto chakra, strength and reflexes a shinobi must take years to develop. Have any of you ever wonder why the boy always seems to be one step behind Sasuke in power? Danzo said, making the council confused. I believe that the reason Minato, our greatest Hokage ever, wanted us to see Naruto as a hero was because he wanted Naruto to protect our village. Danzo said, making the council shocked, except the Hokage, since it's what he had been saying for years. Chakra, as we all know, is the life stream for shinobi. Our bodies need chakra. It feeds on it. As long as it flows in our body, we can fight. Naruto, because of Kyuubi's seal, has so much chakra in him that he doesn't know what to do with it. Which is why I feel that his large supply of chakra changed him. Danzo said, making the room grow silent. I knew it. He is a demon. We should kill him now that we got the chance. A civilian said before Anbu dragged him away. He is not a demon, his body is just better than ours. His chakra coils is at a level we can only dream of and will only get bigger. His muscles are gaining strength from containing all of his power. With no outlet, his body destroys itself. It wouldn't surprise me if he has secretly suffered through a chakra overload and heavily damaged his body. Danzo said, making the room fill with shock. If that is true, then why is it that he doesn't spend every other week in the hospital? The female advisor of the Hokage asked. Because of the nature of medical chakra. Danzo said, making the shinobi pay more attention. They were now extremely intrigued in what the man had to say. When a medic heals with chakra, they are manipulating their patient's chakra into stimulating the body to repair itself. When Naruto is hurt, his body is so full of chakra that it devours it to regenerate the damage it sustained. The boy is walking around while using an advanced, powerful and very efficient medical jutsu without even knowing it. Danzo said, shocking the people in the room. Are you sure about this? I mean, what you're saying almost sounds like. Inoichi said, getting a nod from the one-eyed man. Yes, we can characterize and label Naruto and his body as a bloodline to make things simple. It won't surprise me to see his children do the same, since the genes and biological knowledge of a parent will pass to their children. Those born with his blood will have a chakra level higher than normal. Nowhere near his power, but it won't surprise me if they can reach it with ease. All humans heal themselves naturally with chakra, but future members of the Uzumaki clan will more than likely do it at a speed that is clearly inhuman. Danzo said, making those in the room take in his words. The seal placed on Naruto by the Yondaime changed our Jinchuriki. I believe that it not only contains the demon fox, but it is killing the fox by making Naruto devour it. Danzo said, shocking the room. As Kyuubi gets weaker, Naruto will grow stronger. Every day he becomes greater than the day before, not by much but enough for it to make a difference. The human body is an amazing thing. It's why the things that can't kill us only makes us stronger. We lose one of our main senses and it strengthens the others to regain what we lost. When we destroy it by training, it not only heals the damage but makes us better than before. When we drain our chakra, it makes more than what we had, growing our coils in the process. Naruto does all of this, but at a speed we can't compete with. Imagine being stuck during a war, having to fight an opponent, one that every time you hurt he comes back for more. One that not only is becoming used to your attacks, but it's taking more and more every day to drive him away. Not only are they getting stronger before your eyes, but you will get weaker because you won't be able to compete with his body. Whether we like it or not, Naruto was made for war. The longer he draws out a battle, the easier it will be for him to win. Danzo said, shocking the council. None of its members would like to fight somebody that Danzo described. That's impossible. There is no way that thing can do that. A pink-haired woman said, making Danzo look at her. When I visited the boy and ran a few harmless tests. I'll give you the documentation later. Danzo said to the Hokage before the man could get too upset. I had placed a certain seal in the room. The seal that the Shadaime made for when a Jinchuriki was to be treated. It prevents them from tapping into their tenants. I was shocked to find that all of Naruto's chakra, all of the strength he is showing, is his alone. The boy has no connection to the seal besides it giving him a bit more chakra every day. Even with the removal of yokai, his body still worked at a more amazing rate than before. Kyuubi's chakra is actually making things worse for Naruto. Danzo said, shocking the council. How is that possible? Shikaku asked. You have two chakra sources that was never meant to coexist, fighting for supremacy. Naruto's body is so busy driving the yokai away that his control is almost non-existent. If we add him new filters, and stronger chakra storage seals, I feel Naruto's strength will grow at an alarming rate. Danzo said, making the council room fill with silence. I will talk to Naruto and see what he has to say about this. Even though it is to his benefit, I do not plan to do things without his approval. The Hokage said, making the room agree with him. How can we prove that Danzo is right? Shuza asked. Kakashi's exam. If Naruto does not have the abilities I said, then he won't last long against a Junin. His body would be too weak to be of use in battle. If I am right, then let's just say two certain Sharingan users will have quite the surprise. Danzo said with a smile that made the room uncomfortable. Kyuubi's chakra and the Mandarin style, with the proper training, Naruto will be the natural enemy of Dujutsu users. Which is why I need him to serve me. Danzo thought as the council went over the other teams. Plus asterisk, asterisk plus. Naruto closed his book in frustration. He had better things to do than read all day. Though there was a tiny voice in his head trying to get him to stay longer with Sakura. It grew annoyed as it screamed nonsense about proving his love to the large four-headed Kunoichi. He crushed it with all his mental might and tossed it to wherever Kyuubi was locked up. A grin of satisfaction grew when he heard a vicious creature tear the voice apart. Finally, the door opened to reveal a Junin with gravity-defying hair. The young blonde had an odd feeling that was telling him he knew the man. The only person that fit the description of the one-eyed mask user was a certain Anbu captain, that would always arrive a bit late when villagers gave him problems. He put those thoughts to side as the man measured his new charges. Meet me on the roof. The man said before disappearing. That was either Shushin or a Bunshin, it doesn't matter, the council wouldn't use a weak nin to train duck butt. Naruto thought as he quietly left with his team. I'm glad to see you made it on time. The Junin said as his team sat across him. As Kakashi was putting away his favorite literature, he couldn't help but look over his team, wondering what they were thinking. He could tell they were annoyed, the one thing he was waiting for. Now, before we start doing anything as a team, there is a small exercise for us to do. It should be easy for fresh genin like you. I want you to introduce yourselves to the team. The Junin said with a calm tone. Uzumaki Naruto, any villager should be able to tell you who I am. The golden blonde said before opening a second book to read. Naruto no baka, how dare you cut me off? You can forget about buying me clothes. That should teach you to wait for your goddess to talk. You inconsiderate bastard. Inner Sakura said with a smug face as she was standing in a torture chamber as Naruto hung from chains. They were cutting into his wrist, showing he had been there for a while. His body was bruised from the punishment his self-labeled master gave him. As Inner Sakura got off on her fantasy, her words finally reached her, making her want to take back her last comment. How could she make Naruto not buy her things? It would make him buy things for Ino, and she didn't want that. Naruto belonged to her. Everyone knew, it was his job to do everything for her. You bitch. Bring back my dog. Inner Sakura yelled as Ino appeared in the torture chamber after an explosion. The platinum blonde freed Naruto and he ran after her while on all fours. Ino laughing at Inner Sakura the whole time as she listed off the things Naruto would buy for her. You don't have to raise your hand for a turn. The one-eyed Junin said, making Sakura blush. The outer persona had been caught off guard. She had naturally viewed everything her inner self imagined. She wondered what caused her to become so sadistic. Sensei, I wanted to know how you wanted us to introduce ourselves. Sakura said before the silver-haired Junin closed his eyes to think. The two male students clearly showing no sign of caring about the man's words. One was brooding about his pain and the others was using his sudden obsession for all things Mandarin to cut off the world. I guess your names, likes, dislikes and dreams should be enough for now. The Junin said, making Sakura nod her head. I believe it's your turn. the man said as he pointed at the pink-haired teen. She took a few minutes screeching about her obsession over Sasuke. I hate Naruto, Sakura said while taking half a second to look at the golden blonde. That's good to know, Naruto said with an indifferent tone. What? You're not supposed to say that. You're supposed to cry your heart out and beg me to love you. What kind of fanboy are you? Love me, you stupid idiot. Inner Sakura yelled as she dragged Naruto from a smiling Ino. Kakashi wasn't liking what he was seeing with his teen. He expected much from them, mainly because of the titles the academy gave them. Though he had another reason to expect great things from Naruto. He just hoped the academy made a mistake and Naruto wasn't the dead last they had labeled him. Depending on Naruto's dedication, Kakashi would determine how much training he deserved. You're the last one, Kakashi said while looking at the Rookie of the Year. My name is Uchiha Sasuke, there's hardly anything I like. I hate almost everything, especially fangirls. Sasuke said before glaring at Sakura. My ambition is to kill a certain man and revive my clan. Sasuke said making a dark chuckle flow out of Naruto. There's a flaw with your ambition. Naruto said making Sasuke glare at him. To revive a clan you need offsprings. I'm sure there is a lot willing girls to give you heirs. Naruto said as Sasuke saw Sakura nod her head too fast for him see. Kakashi feared her neck would snap making her head fly off. You tell him Naruto. He needs me to give him babies. Inner Sakura said as she drooled and moved her hands in a grabby grab way. Already imagining how she was going to ravish Sasuke's perfect body. Though lately there was something making it seem less and less perfect. Sakura did a mental shake before returning to her fantasy of raping the last Uchiha. In her mind that would be the ultimate way to prove her love, after all it was how Sasuke wanted it. Why else would he continue to ignore his fangirls except to see who was truly dedicated to him? He wanted to know who was willing to do anything to reach his heart. However they will be fangirls, there is no way you can escape that fate. Naruto said making Sasuke's eyes to grow in disbelief as Kakashi chuckled. Look at the bright side, when you bed them, there's a high chance they will be screamers. Naruto said making Sasuke pale. The thought of his future wife screeching his name during intercourse scared him. He felt a shiver run up his spine as Sakura placed a hand on his lap. Too close to his growing manhood. Do you want babies now or later? Sasuke-kun, Sakura said with a seductive tone making the clan prodigy scurry back with fear. All of his shinobi skills instantly left his head as the pink-haired Kunoichi looked ready to pounce him. Theirs is no escape, I'm going to make you into a man Sasuke-kun. Inner Sakura yelled as her body was crawling on top of Sasuke. You won't be able to have his kid Sakura-chan. Naruto said making Sakura glare at him. Why not? Inner Sakura said through Sakura making Naruto smile. Her eyes filled with a murderous glare for the one that interrupted her fun. The longest tradition in the Uchiha clan is that their mate must be able to make them bleed. That means you have to impress Sasuke during a spar. The only one in the academy able to hit him was me. And I don't plan to defy the laws of nature to help him with his ambitions. Naruto said making Sasuke smirk, though he hated Naruto for hinting at him liking men. The lone Uchiha had completely forgotten about that special requirement of his people. It was why his older brother never dated, no one had been able to touch him. He's right, my mom was the strongest kunoichi in the clan before she married my dad. No fangirl will ever be able to reach her level of power. Sasuke said with excitement, clearly ignoring the pain that ran through Sakura. Both emotional and physical. Emotional from being rejected and insulted by Sasuke, physical since he literally threw her off him. Kakashi on the other hand couldn't believe how things had suddenly changed with his team. The golden blonde made the brooding prodigy look more human and the pink-haired harpy looked to take being a kunoichi more seriously, of course she was doing it for the wrong reasons. Before we leave here are a few things I want you to go over for tomorrow. Kakashi said as he handed the genin slips of paper. I advise you to not eat breakfast, unless you like throwing up. Kakashi said with his eye smile before leaving with a swirl of leaves. Oye tem, what does it say? Naruto said, making Sakura screech about what he called her precious Sasuke-kun. Her teammates easily ignored her. Their ears had adjusted long ago to the high level of pain her voice could cause. We have to meet at Training Ground 7 near the Memorial Stone. Pack the necessary gear for a rogue hunt. Can't you read Dobi? Sasuke said, making Sakura smirk. I never had anyone willing to teach me kanji, thanks for the info. Naruto said before leaping off the roof, making his teammates fill with shock. He landed with a squat, a light tingling feeling shooting through his body. I can't gather the chakra to my feet fast enough. I still have much to learn. Naruto said before going to find an apartment. Holy shit. He totally survived that. Inner Sakura said, making Sasuke agree with her. Outer Sakura had temporarily fainted when she heard Naruto land. Thinking the golden blonde had finally killed himself for her ignoring him. Sasuke quickly left his most obsessive fangirl behind before she remembered they were all alone. He cursed himself when he heard her calling for him once he reached the stairs. He ran as fast as he could, but with the fear in his heart and soul made him no better than a civilian. He had to remind himself not to fall down. Last time it happened, he shuddered from the memory of the incident. He remembered to thank the Anbu once more for saving him and his chastity. Why can't she have awesome ninja's skill when she isn't trying to rape me? Sasuke thought as he worked his hardest to escape from the pink-haired Kunoichi. Unknown to the world, it wasn't secret jutsus and special training that made him better. It was fighting off his legion of fangirls. Every other week a few would lose control and hunt him down to rape him. He couldn't figure out another reason on why they would throw themselves at him while ripping off his clothes. His brother's torture was nothing compared to a horde of screaming and horny fangirls. Plus asterisk plus. Naruto had found an apartment to his like a few hours later. To make things even better, it was a complex made for shinobi and run by shinobi. They couldn't legally reject him renting a room. He also liked it because now those ignorant civilians wouldn't try to trash his place. Though he wasn't going to spend all of his money with blind hope. He promised himself to buy his own home long ago. Rather than spoiling himself, he would only buy the basic necessities. The rest of his money was needed for the future. After a bit of shopping and a quick exchange of bills, he was filling his new apartment with furniture. Now all that was left was getting the things he needed for the next day. The golden blonde ignored the genin team in the shinobi store he entered, however he was paying attention to the quick lesson the Junin was giving. Yosh. Guy-sensei, I will purchase some weights so that my flames of youth will grow with the power of youth. A clone of the Junin said before Naruto saw the most horrible genjutsu his mind could ever come up with. He felt like clawing his eyes out with his new right arm. He couldn't imagine the madness in a person's mind to create such a monstrosity, much less actually use it. The urge to kill those two freaks continued to grow as they chanted away. He would have attacked if he hadn't sensed the store owner behind him. So what are you here for, kid? The shop owner said, hoping to rid himself of the sight of the eye-burning pair. In his mind, dealing with the demon was 1,000 times better than those freaks. I just graduated. Give me all the standard jutsus a genin should know by the time they reach Chunin. Naruto said, making the man look at him with disbelief, along with Team Guy. Whatever you say, kid, but wouldn't your sensei disapprove? The man said, not knowing that Naruto reaching chakra exhaustion with low-level jutsus was the same chance of a sudden solar eclipse. My sensei has 2 more students to worry about. I never had anyone willing to teach me, nor do I need one. Naruto said, making the man feel bad for him. He didn't have a real grudge with the blonde in front of him. He just saw people were nicer if he would badmouth the blonde. Naruto saw the conflicting emotions on the man's face. It just made him hate the store owner for thinking he needed pity. The golden blonde prepared to put the man in his place. Having a sensei is a wonderful thing. You obtain a mentor to help you in the path of life. Perhaps your sensei will be as wonderful as my own. Rock Lee said while in his nice guy pose. Naruto was shocked to see a sudden flash of light come from behind him. From his calculations, it came from the clone of the green beast. The store owner was temporarily blinded, frustrating Naruto. Perhaps you are right, but the power that rests within me demands that I walk alone. Naruto said, making Guy and the store owner feel bad for the blonde. Do you have what I need? Otherwise you're worthless to me. Naruto said while glaring at the shop owner. He would have lifted the civilian by his scrawny neck if it wasn't for the Junin behind him. The man took a step back in fear. He had never seen such cold and threatening eyes in someone so young. Not even the Uchiha prodigy was able to place so much fear into him. There was just something about Naruto that made him fear him. As if some kind of primal nature told him he had to do what he said or there was going to be consequences and no one was going to stop it. What have we done? The shop owner said in fear. His mind racing with the images of mobs chasing Naruto, the voices of his fellow villagers bragging about the harm they did to him. Whether physical, mental, emotional or economical. He now saw the fruit his home has grown. He could feel the darkness begin to sprout in Naruto, ready to consume the blonde and any around him. You created a demon from a jailer. Naruto said with a dark smirk, making the eyes of the adults to grow. Now get me what I seek. Naruto said, making the man rush to get the scrolls. The Mandarin was right. Come push and shove, civilians will break down if you start giving them killing intent at the right moments. I can't wait till I start going even deeper into that scroll than I have before. The only problem I have is those fools behind me. It matters not what they do or say, it won't be long before I master the power of the Mandarin. Naruto thought as he heard the man rushing around to complete his order. Halfway through the order he stopped. What's your affinity? The man said, making Naruto look at him with confusion. Affinity? What's that? Naruto asked, making the store fill with shock. You graduated the academy without knowing about elemental affinities. You're probably as useless as Lee. Neji said with arrogance. All it did was bring a smirk to Naruto's face. Naruto easily recognized the Hyuga teen for what he was, a weird-eyed Sasuke. And if there was one thing Naruto was put in this world for, other than eating ramen, it was busting Sasuke's balls. So busting the balls of a blind-looking teen with a Sasuke brain transplant would be just as fun and rewarding. Tell me, have you ever bested a Chunin with a single jutsu? Naruto said, making the genin look at him with disbelief. A dark smile on his face as he could feel their emotions in the air. He was glad he could see their faces off the reflection on a large blade. The new Mandarin had his back to Team 9. I thought so. When you reach that level of power, come find me for a spar. Then you can see how useless I am. Naruto said with a dark tone that made the proud Hyuga uncomfortable. He can't be serious, right, Guy-sensei? Tenten said as Guy studied the blonde. I'm afraid he is. Naruto defeated a traitor on his own before graduating the academy. Guy said, making his team look at him with disbelief and then at the golden blonde. As impressive as your flames of youth are, I can feel you wish to grow stronger to protect Konoha. Guy said with a smile, hoping that the boy could be saved from the evil that wanted to claim him. Of course I will protect Konoha. What kind of cage will I be if my power doesn't surpass that of any other ninja in this village? Naruto said with a smirk. Do you mind channeling chakra into this paper? The store owner said with a smile. His instincts told him to get on the blonde's good side. Naruto took the paper and flared his chakra, making the room fill with his power. His chakra shouldn't be visible, and why is it black? Guy though as he saw Naruto coat his body with his chakra. It would suddenly flare as if on fire. While some of his chakra circled around him like a mini cyclone. The mouths of those in the room dropped as they saw the paper split in half before bursting into vicious flames. Something wrong, Naruto said, making the man shake his head. No, but what you just did was incredible. Most shinobi don't develop their second affinity until they start training to reach the rank of Junin. Hell, that chakra you flared is already more than any Chunin could match. The store owner said before a thought filled his head. No one has ever helped him, so why is his chakra so big? Guy and the store owner thought as they looked at the dark chakra-owning blonde. I don't care about how amazing it was, I want to know what does it mean. Naruto said, making the room look at him with disbelief. It means that using fire and wind jutsus will be easy for you. Wind is your main affinity, though I don't know that many wind users in this village. Guy said with a smile. I have some genin level jutsus, with you being a wind user I'll order some stronger ones. The store owner said as he started to grab a few more scrolls. These are chakra control exercises that will help you tame your elements. The man said as he placed 8 scrolls near 2 more. This is more than enough firepower for a new genin. Come back in 3 months and I'll have stronger jutsus for you then. The store owner said as Naruto paid the normal amount for his new jutsus. Will you really be able to learn all that within 3 months? Tenten asked as she saw Naruto carry a bag with 10 scrolls. Come challenge me with a spar by then, I'll more than willing to show you how much I've learned. I also expect to learn from such a well-developed kunoichi. Naruto said with a smirk, making Tenten blush. Naruto took his 2 bags of scrolls and left. That kid might really live up to the name this village gave him. The store owner said while shuddering. That's what I'm afraid of. Guy said, making his team look at him with confusion. I don't have much time to learn all of these, lucky for me 2 should be enough. Naruto thought as he looked through his scrolls. He was in the same location where Mizuki had started the start of Naruto's new life. Seeing the cabin behind him was abandoned, he planned to fix it to use this area as much as possible. The golden blonde sat in a lotus position as he read through the scrolls, placing them in how they would benefit him in battle and outside of it. I doubt any of these will catch that Junin off guard. If I can't hurt him, then perhaps I could. Naruto said as a dark smile began to grow on his face. He picked up his scrolls and ran to his favorite ramen bar. The 2 friendly cooks were shocked to see him eat at his usual speed with his bandaged limb. They were left speechless when he admitted that nothing was wrong. They agreed to keep quiet about his sneaky trick. Tsuki was proud of Naruto's changes. To him, the blonde was becoming who he always knew he could become. Ayame felt that something in Naruto was starting to die, but she figured everyone had to grow up sooner or later. Naruto trained until near chakra exhaustion, though this night and the night his world changed there was a huge difference.